Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Identity Project. Today, I have a very special guest, somebody that I've known for a really long time, actually, but over these last few years, I haven't seen as much of her. So I'm excited to connect today. Marcela, what's going on?
Hello, hello. It's me, Mar.
I'm so glad that we had you on video. For those of you that are obviously didn't know this, like before this, we were having some issues there. It was only going to be audio, but we got the video up, and so it's going to be so much better. I'm excited. You get to see her
Yeah.
dance
It's
moves.
gonna look like it's gonna look like I'm rapping. It just happens, the hands just flow. They have their own mind.
I love it. I love it. So, Marcela, keeping it true to the podcast, I want to take you all the way back and kind of allow you to share your story of life thus far. So, where were you born? And yeah, tell us about yourself kind of as a child growing up through elementary school.
Yeah, okay, so I grew up in Guatemala, which is in Central America for us non-geographic sound friends. And it's definitely a different world down there, right? But I would say the biggest like thing growing up in a different country is that when I did move to America, I appreciated so many different things. One of the things is like fitness over there is not a big deal, but also the way we eat, the way we sleep, everything like that is so different. And so more, I would say, people oriented than it is here. So growing up down there was just different, very different, which I didn't know till I moved up here. But grew up in Guatemala, moved to Texas in 2005. Yeah, 2005. So I was going into fifth grade, which this is nice that it's like we're going back to childhood because I was like, I don't know, I'm like 12. So really just about yesterday. So moved to Texas in 2005, and I've been here ever since. Um, Man, what about it? Different change for sure. They threw me right into some ESL classes, and I was like, hey, I speak English. So for people who don't know what ESL is, it's English second language. And I was like, hopped in class. Everyone in there literally didn't speak English, and I was like, hey, so like my English is really good. And if you talk to me now, you're like, there's no way that you speak Spanish, but I do. And they threw me in there, and it was like living in this like fishbowl of a world of like, all right, all these people only speak Spanish. All of these people out there speak English, and like I swear I can do both. Like just throw me out there with all my other friends. So I had a different experience coming back to Texas, living in a different environment. I don't really. What else do you need to know? I mean,
That was so fast. You just sped through. All right.
I know. I'm fast.
All right.
I forget details.
Yes, it's okay. That's why we're going through it. So, were you an only child, or did you have brothers and sisters? Right.
Oh, let's see. I have older brothers. I have three older brothers.
How much of like growing up with older brothers do you think like affected how you are today?
Oh, big time. I definitely played a lot more sports, did a lot more like outdoor activities, but a lot of that came too with growing up in Guatemala. It's a lot about being outside, definitely not a lot of like screen time, things like that. But a lot of roughhousing. It led me into playing the different sports that I did later on in life. And so I would say that instead of maybe doing like I didn't play ball sports till this day. I like tell my parents, I'm like, I should have played a ball sport, but I did wrestling instead. And I think it was honestly because I had brothers. I was like, hey, well, if they did it, I need to do it. Growing up, my parents were like, let's put you in dance. And I was like, but they're doing karate. I want to do karate, like things like that definitely played into it. Rough housing, just even the way I connect with people differently because of having older brothers.
Yeah.
Different in the sense of like not very emotional.
Yeah. No, I definitely could see that. How much older were they than you?
So my youngest one is 4 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So there was kind of a big age gap. So a lot of needing to prove myself, especially being a girl. I was like, oh yeah, y'all are older, but like I can keep up. I can fight too. Like, yes, let's karate chop each other. I'll still win. Like a lot of that growing up.
That's hilarious. So were you, I mean, knowing like, for those of you that know Marcela, obviously like, I mean, y'all know her, right? But have you always been like this, like your whole life growing up, like in elementary school, were you like super outgoing and whatnot? Were you ever like shy and introverted at all, or?
No, so I would say I'm a different breed. I'm cut from a different cloth, if, to say the least. But I am a very extroverted introvert. Like I've always been super outgoing, always been super loud. But then like in my times where I'm by myself, like I love it too. But yeah, I've always been this way. I've always wanted to connect with people. I like to have a very wide group of friends. Some of them not as deep as others, but I love being able to be connected with everybody in the community and being able to relate to people.
Yeah. What do you think that stems from? Like, I mean, I think honestly for me, like that human connection piece and like that relationship piece is something that I didn't give, I don't know, I guess all the credit that it deserved. You know, we always think about like, especially with like health, it's like sleep and nutrition and exercise and all these things, but it's like that human connection, that relationship piece is big. It should be one of those major pillars. And I think that's something I kind of realized later in life, but what, I mean, what influenced you to do that? Like, was it something with your parents? Is that how they were, or?
No, so I would say it was actually transitioning from living in Guatemala where all of my family lives. And so you over there, you know, connection is such a big thing. Like family connection is huge. Um, you know, you constantly see your family all the time, get together all the time. And then moving to Texas where it was like, hey, I actually don't have family here. And it's just me and my parents and my brothers. And, um, you know, my aunt does live here. And so it was like, that's all we had. And so realizing that I no longer had that huge sense of community with all of my family living around, I think I sought out that sensation through other people. So it's like, if I can't have, you know, my family in all of this, then I need to create relationships that will be that and fill that void of wanting that. And so that kind of fed into me wanting to get to know so many people, into realizing that I just like actually love people. And so it grew my desire to want to know everybody and hear everybody's story, because then I realized like, oh, I'm not the only one who doesn't have family here. Like this person that have family, they deserve family, I'll be their family. And then it was like, oh, but this person doesn't either, and this one does, and they're connected to all these people, so now I want to know all of these people too. And so it's just kind of like full circle. That's like the short story of like,
That's
I think
amazing.
why. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, like knowing like what you do now, I mean, like obviously being a community leader, essentially, you know, within CFDC and things like that. I mean, that plays such a huge aspect in your role as a coach and a community leader now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's definitely being involved in so many different types of community. I think that was, we'll probably talk about it, but working at Lululemon for so long, I got to experience very like vast amount of different communities, you know, like the HIIT community, spin community, you know, I mean, Pilates, like it's such different worlds, but being able to like meet all of these people and realize that we're all seeking out the same thing, and it is just human connection, has made what I do right now so special, because I feel like I'm able to now relate to so many people.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's super powerful. And I remember back when you were at Lulu, I mean, y'all had that one span, I don't even remember what it was called, but y'all were literally working out like, I don't know, 50 times a day at like 50 different places. I was like, y'all are crazy.
Yes, I will never forget that. It was a Lululemon competition. It was called the Lemon Cup. And it was to see which store could do the most workouts in like a 1 week span. And I think one day I went to like 2 CrossFit classes. Like I think I took 3 back-to-back spin classes. And then after that went to like a restorative yoga class, like literally just so I could get a nap in. And yeah, it was it was bad. Cheers to all the showers I didn't take that week. I'll tell you that. It was pretty brutal.
That's hilarious. So when you came in and I guess kind of as we transition into like those middle school, high school years now, were you like, what sports were you actually playing during that time? And did you kind of like start to focus in on like just one in high school, or did you still play like multi-sport?
No, so I would say I'm definitely a jack of all trades, master of literally none of them. I kind of bounced around, but my main sports were I wrestled. Going back to like, I have brothers, they wrestled. Of course, if I could have played football at the time, I probably would have done that too, just to prove to them that I could be better than them. So I did wrestling.
What position would you play?
Oh, you know what? I would love to be like an offensive tackle just so I can nail people all day. I mean, that's just me. Anyways,
I was thinking like running back or something.
oh, no. Don't give me the ball. I don't want to catch the ball. I just want to like beat people up, just tackle them to the ground just for funsies.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But no, so I did wrestling. I did competitive cheerleading to balance out, the being a wrestler. And then did powerlifting too. And those are kind of my like three main sports going into high school that I stuck to.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a while back, and I was really interested to know that you did powerlifting in high school, because I did powerlifting in high school as well. And I mean, there's not that many high schools that have powerlifting. I feel like that was kind of a rarity, and it was, in my opinion, I think our powerlifting program was actually like more successful than our football program was. I mean, I never even went to playoffs with football, and we went to state every year with powerlifting. So
yeah, so all of our bigger football guys did powerlifting, and it was like very, very new when I started. So even like my brother went to high school 4 years before me, right? So we never got to go to school at the same time, but they didn't even have that program till his like very last year. So it was like very new, very fresh. But I saw it, and actually my wrestling coach identified that. He was like, I think you're really strong for a girl. He's like, I don't know how strong girls should be, but you just seem abnormally strong for your size. So like, have you ever thought about it? And I was like, no, but maybe I should. And let's try it out again. Jack of all trades, master of none. I was like, I'll just try a little bit of everything. And did it. And I was like, this is great. And I ended up, it was one of those things where like I hopped in and I was like a little bit abnormally good. And I was like, I love being good at stuff. I'm going to continue doing this. So it was definitely a new thing. And I was the only girl on the team. So if I feel like I should pull up a powerlifting team picture, because I'm the only female on the team at the time.
that's awesome. Did you, what were your like best lifts ever in the squat, bench, and deadlift? Do you remember?
Say it one more time.
What weight class were you in as well?
Oh, I was competed at 112.
112. And what were your like best lifts ever?
Yeah. So my last, oh God, I don't even want to talk about it. It makes me so sad. My last year, I benched 165, which probably is still my bench right now. I squatted 305 and deadlifted 305.
Nice.
So if I could show you, my quads are a lot bigger than my hamstrings. So the squat to deadlift ratio really makes sense.
Yeah, trust me, I was in the exact same spot, especially like powerlifting. It was actually a little bit more evened out, I would say. I think my best lifts were like, and yeah, it makes me sad too, because I'll never be this strong again.
Oh,
but,
no, never. Or that small. Like when I say 112, I'm like, glory years.
I'm actually, my weight is, I've always, like ever since high school, like 185, 190, that's just where I've stayed for 10 years. Like, that's just like my weight.
Must be nice. Just kidding.
But yeah, my deadlift absolutely sucked compared to my squat. I had like a 600-pound back squat at state, and my deadlift was like almost 100 pounds under that. Yeah. So
yeah. Mine, I've like always, everyone's like, you should be able to deadlift more. And I'm like, I just can't, especially because I'm like this small. So they're like, Mar, like you literally just need to pick it up like this much. That's it. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. How tall are you again? Like 4,
4'10".
6? Oh,
No,
4'10".
no, 4'10".
Okay. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
Hey,
My,
Alex isn't much taller. Alex is like 5 foot. So I joke with her too.
this is why we were friends. This is why I
Yeah.
liked her.
There we go.
Understood.
So what was the transition? I'm always curious about this. What was the transition for you from like high school to like college? Did you have like your whole plan of life mapped out ahead of you, or were you just like, what did that transition look like? I don't even know. Did you go to school or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I went for, this is actually going to lead perfectly into why I came to Dallas, but I, through sports, always went to go see like physical therapists. Like I had knee surgery, so physical therapy, chiropractors, like constantly. I mean, when you're 4'10", lifting 300 pounds and then throwing girls above your head for cheerleading, like it just was a lot of wear and tear on my body. And my mom is a huge influence into why I've been so athletic. And so she was like very much on like, hey, let's get you into recovery. Let's get you a chiropractor. And so I found like a big passion for it. And I was like, hey, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. So I went to school to get a biology degree to then go to Parker, which is here in Dallas. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to chiropractic school, Needless to say, graduated, was like, maybe I don't want to go to chiropractic school. I don't think I want to go to school anymore at all. And then was working at Lululemon all through college, and then was like, you know what, maybe this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like I really enjoy the connection that I have with people. I enjoy actually this retail where I get to meet, people every day. And so then I was like, let's go back to school for business. Started doing business prereqs because I didn't take enough math doing biology apparently. And then quickly when I was going back for like master's, was like, actually, no, when I said I was done with school, like I'm actually like completely done with school. But that's actually how I even ended up here in Dallas, was that I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to chiropractic school. I'm going to become this like successful chiropractor, and that's my life. And needless to say, when I like finished school and I was like, no, retail, which when you tell people like, oh, I have a degree and I want to do retail for the rest of my life, they're like, I'm sorry, why? But Lululemon was such a cool company and their culture was just amazing. I was convinced that that's what I was going to do.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously I got the chance to kind of do the ambassador thing there for a little bit there at Lulu, and loved you and like the rest of the crew there. Now I feel like I don't know anybody there anymore, but
Same.
But yeah, no, I mean, just some of the stuff that they did with the community I thought was awesome. What were like, I mean, what then kind of led you into what you're doing now? I mean, what did that like, so, I mean, for something like, I want to do this for the rest of my life, to then, moving out, like that's interesting. What kind of led to that?
You cut off, but I'm going to guess you asked what helped me transition.
Yeah. So did it cut off?
Yeah, I cut off.
No worries. I'll edit it. But yeah, what did that kind of transition look like for you now into doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So while working at Lululemon, one of the biggest benefits that they have is they allow us to try out different fitness classes. And one of it's to brand, right, for branding reasons of like for people to see the product on us, but two, again, for connection and community connection. We want to bring people from the outside in and give them an experience that they might not otherwise have experienced. And so I got to take a bunch of fitness classes that I had never tried. And at the time, I want to say my second or third year at Lululemon, I had knee surgery, like completely busted my knee open, and then had stitches in my knee, and then rebusted them. So what was supposed to be like a 2-month process ended up being like a 9-month of like, I can't bend my knee, can't do lunges, anything. So during this rehab, I started going to a bunch of spin classes because it was a very low intensity thing on my knee. And because of this injury, I was like, and being active my whole life, I was like, I'll do whatever I can. So I took a bunch of spin classes. Well, then as my knee started to heal and I was able to do more in the spin classes, I was like, hey, this is like really fun. And I got the opportunity to go through teacher training because they're like, hey, we're looking for instructors that we think that you would like it. Like, why not? And I was like, yeah, like, let's do this. I would love to teach spin. I think this would be super cool. And then started teaching spin. And while I was teaching spin, I realized I was like, hey, I really enjoy quote unquote like coaching or leading a class. And I was like, I like really, really enjoy it. And so I was working at Lululemon, kind of feeding that connection piece through that, but then also outside of that, feeding like a leadership piece by being able to lead these instructor classes. And then shortly down that journey, I met Spencer Nix, who was also a ambassador for Lululemon at the time. And he was like, hey, you need to come to CrossFit. Like, you would love it. And I was like, yeah, maybe. My mom does it, so probably not. Like, it's one of those like stigmas where like, okay, if your parents do it, like, I don't want to do it. And then slowly but surely I was like, you know what, fine, like I will. I had met a lot of people that were involved in the CrossFit community, and I had gone to several classes, but never had anyone be like, no, you need to do this. Like, you would be good at it kind of thing. And like I mentioned earlier with powerlifting, if there's any chance for me to be good at something, then I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, if I can be good at it, duh, I'll do it. And then with the lifting background too, I was like, okay, so you're adding lifting into something that I might be good at, like I'm in. Started coming into CrossFit, definitely started coming more consistently. And then as I came here, I was like really enjoying my time I would say there was just more of a community aspect than there was while I was teaching spin. And it was like, now I have something that's connecting the two together. Because before it was like, hey, I'm teaching spin and I get to coach, these people. And now I get to work at Lululemon where I'm involved in the community, when now I'm doing an activity that both are come together. It's like the two of my favorite worlds were now together. And then as I started doing more CrossFit, I slowly started transitioning out of doing spin. And during that time, CFTC and Spencer Nix were like, hey, we have this like opportunity for you to come coach for us. Like, would you be interested? And I was like, absolutely. Like, again, I now have this like perfect world here where it's like, I love the activity, I love the community, and now I'm going to have the opportunity to like coach in this. And I was like, now that's combining everything I've ever wanted into one thing. And so that's kind of short story of like how I ended up coaching here at CFTC and how I made my way out of, living three different worlds of like, okay, I'm going to teach spin so I can get this fix, and I'm going to work at Lululemon and get this fix, and then I'm going to do this and get this fix of being like doing CrossFit and doing my own activity. And now it was like, hey, you can actually enjoy what you're doing, have a leadership role, and have a community piece all in one format. I was like, bought in, don't sell it to me anymore. Like, I'm all in.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's beautiful how, all these kind of components add up. It's like, there's so many people out there that are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm passionate about. And it's like, you just need to get reps in. I mean, look at you. You figured it out through doing all of these different things. And it ultimately led to you combining everything into one, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was such a seamless transition too. It just made sense. Like, the moment I had the opportunity, there was no part of me that was like, oh, do I want to do this? It was like, no, like, I'm hella passionate about this, and now I can do this forever. And I've been gifted the ability to do this as a full-time job and for the rest of my life with stability. Like, yeah, I mean, please, someone tell me why I shouldn't,
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, I remember talking to you a while back. I think it was when we were doing the little like interview for Ambassador maybe. And I think you told me about like your mom and CrossFit, because didn't you you kind of got into it for a little bit and you were kind of like a little, like you're good, like a little competitive. And then you stopped at some point as well. Am I right?
Yeah. So, well, I was like dabbling. I loved it. And then it was like, well, I'm going to do this instead. Again, massive nothing, jack of all trades. And so it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, I'm not the best. Let me try something else. And then it was like, which is the funny thing of like, I just kept coming back to it. And so it was like, I like CrossFit, but I'm going to try this other thing out. And then once I got bored of this other thing, I was like, and I'm coming back to CrossFit because this is really fun. And then I was like, oh, but like, this is flashy and new and it's shiny. I'm going to go try this. And then I was like, yeah, I'm bored. Like, I'm going to go back to CrossFit.
Got it. That's crazy. Yeah. So always your home. So what was the conversation like with your mom? Because your mom is a CrossFit gym owner, right?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So your mom she owns a CrossFit gym. Is that right?
So currently, no, she just is now participating. Yeah.
Got it. But did at one time, right?
Yeah. She's coaching, almost full time for a long time. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what was the conversation that y'all had, like, once you finally like got into CFDC and like kind of really embraced that, what you maybe, I don't know, had been delaying for a while?
Yeah. It was one of those like, I'm sorry, Mom, I know you're always right kind of thing. Yeah. Me and my mom joke a lot because we've kind of gone full circle of, my mom actually works for Lululemon now, and I coach CrossFit full time. And at one point it was flip-flopped. And so we're joke around and call it like a Freaky Friday. Like we just switched lives. Me and my mom pretty much live the exact same lifestyle too. But yeah.
That's awesome.
It was definitely like I'm sorry, Mom, I should have listened to you. I could have been happier a lot sooner in life kind of thing.
Well, hey, it's understanding. Like we don't typically do what our parents like want us to. We're like little rebels sometimes. So yeah,
I'm going to send this podcast to her and she's going to be probably the happiest ever. She's like, that's the first time she's ever admitted to being right.
Well, good. I'm glad you'll be able to share that with her. So, I think like I was talking to, I guess this will be released later. So by this time, everybody would have probably listened to Spencer and I's podcast. But we talked a lot about the community that's been built over the last 10-ish years there. What are, in terms of community, like what are the things that just stand out to you the most with CFDC and like really kind of attracted you to want to be a part of that community?
That's such a great question. I think the organic relationships that are built here, it's very much everyone's super accepting, even coming in, because I joined CFDC and then started coaching there very quickly. And people could have seen it as in like, hey, this girl has no experience. What is she doing here kind of thing. But instead they were super embracing. They're like very supportive. Everyone that's part of the CFDC community is all about uplifting each other, cheering each other on, whether it's a part of in the gym or outside in life. You always hear about like big events, weddings, things like that, where everyone from the gym are going. And I think it's just the organic, very authentic people that go to this gym, that are so open to everybody and accepting and ready to empower each other at any moment.
Yeah, I love that. So what about when you're coaching the classes? This is something, obviously I coached CrossFit for like 5 years. And so I think back to myself and look, I'm definitely guilty of not going all in on every last class, but those classes where you just like go 100% all in, like you just pour your life, your heart into it. And like you get to the end and you're just like class is over, everybody's gone. And you're just like, like you're just dead. Like you emptied the tank. Like, have you ever felt that before?
Oh my God. I feel that every day. And it's, I always know I coached a good class when my Whoop tracked it as an activity. Nice. I'm like, I was so excited all class. My heart rate was up that my Whoop now told me that I did an activity for the last 2 hours. Like I'm crushing the calories. No, I'm just kidding. But it's funny because I will look after coaching a class and I'll have realized that like when I'm exhausted, it's like my body literally tracked that as an activity because that's how much energy I was putting forth. And that tells me like hey, you're doing a pretty good job. Like, you're trying your best. But yeah, it happens to me almost every day where I mean, I would say all of us coaches here really take the time to like format our class to feel and look a certain way, that by the time we're done, it's like, hey, I just put on this show for the last, hour of class. Like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that, I started, in the field doing personal training and then doing CrossFit classes. And I think back to the times when I was doing, 15 personal training sessions in a day, or doing like, I don't know, 5 CrossFit classes in a day. And it's just like, man, me thinking back now, it's like, I would never recommend that to anybody, because it's like, there's no way, that's how burnout happens. Like, there's no way you can pour your heart out into, that many people per day. It's just, you don't have enough.
Right. That's where I would say, like, being the person, I'm very extroverted, introvert. I really take my introverted time like very serious, because I am like, hey, at the end of the day, I'm trying to impact 300 plus lives a day. When I get home, I need to help myself. I need to take the time to how I would want how I like to pour into others, like to pour into myself too. I'm also very fortunate that the way we have things formatted here is very long term. One of the biggest things that brought me in to work for Spencer next was, he was like, I want this to be something that you can do for the rest of your life. Let's make it happen. And so having that support very early on, as now I'm 2 years into coaching, and I can't even count on my hands the times that I've been like, I'm exhausted. It's just like, I love what I do so much, and the way we have it formatted for balance between group classes and personal training is like, hey, I can do this forever, and it's going to be great. I'm not going to get burnt out. I can continue a high energy for a long period of time.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I think once you find something that brings you that much fulfillment in life, which, for most, I think it's just like helping people, whether it's, a coach, like in a gym or with nutrition or whatever. It's like, if you can find something where like you can dedicate your life to helping other people, like you'll probably find fulfillment.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you, because I know you're phenomenal with people. So this is for the coach out there that somebody comes into their class, CrossFit or not, right? And it's like a new person, and they're just like shy and like introverted, and like you're trying to like welcome them and make them feel a part of the class, but they're just having a really rough time. So what's your advice to coaches out there that have experienced this before? What's like, if I came into your class and I was that person, like what would be some of those things that you would try to do to just make me have a great hour of my day?
Oh man. I feel like for people who know me, it makes sense, but I'm like maybe serious 0.9% of the time. So my immediate answer is like, I start throwing jokes. I try to make them feel comfortable, right, to open up. So cracking any kind of joke I have, but I also like to pair people up to kind of meet them where they're at too. What I know is like hopping into a 20-person class can be a little overwhelming. And last thing I want is for this person to be like, oh, this coach keeps calling me out. Not everyone's looking at me and I'm embarrassed. I don't want to come back. But instead, acknowledging the personalities I have in the class. And a lot of the times I like to pair people up. Like, hey, this is so-and-so. This is going to be your friend. 10 out of 10 always use a joke of like, they love to hold hands. They'll hold your hand today if you need it. And just giving them somebody that they know, like, hey, after I've talked to the whole group, if they don't feel comfortable, like this is not their buddy, and they can kind of ask them any like side questions of like, what are kilos? Because we operate in kilos, things like that.
Kilos are so hard. Like the few times that I've gone over to CFDC, the kilos, that's the real struggle for me. Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, half the time you don't even know what you're lifting. So you just feel great about yourself,
That's
like,
right.
Hey, I'm lifting some kilos. Don't know what that means. And then it sounds cooler too when you're telling people like, yeah, I lifted 50 kilos today. And people are like, wow. And you're like, it's only like 100 pounds, but like nobody has to know. No,
awesome.
but my biggest advice is meeting them where they're at, seeing the type of personality they have, and then kind of how can you make them feel comfortable, whether it's pairing them up with a person or being that person for them, or just constantly checking in on them, but making sure they're having a good experience. Because at the end of the day, if someone has a good experience, then they'll come back.
Yeah, love that. All righty, girl. I could probably sit here and talk with you all day, but I want to respect your time. I do have one more question for you, and this is one thing me and Spencer kind of touched on a little bit, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts around it. So there's this whole concept that I talk about a lot with clients and with other gym owners, and it's the other 23 hours of the day, right? We always talk about in the gym setting of, hey, we want this to be the best hour of their day, right? But how important are the other 23 hours of the day? How important are the nutrition and lifestyle factors kind of outside of the gym?
Man, I mean, that's the biggest piece of the puzzle, right? People are in here for an hour a day, and what they do with the rest of the day is going to translate long term. Right now, just a quick backtrack, but our gym has taken a big standpoint of pairing each of our members up with a coach. And so I've gotten to see a lot of that, of seeing like, hey, I see you an hour of the day. This is what it looks like to me, right? You're like crushing it. You come in, you're like happy-go-lucky, but what does the other, 23 hours of your day look like? And to see the big gap on people's like sleep and nutrition and stuff has been like super eye-opening for me. But it's coming to realize, like, a lot of times people come in and they're like, hey, I'm not getting better. And it's like, oh, like, how much did you sleep last night? And it's like, I slept 3 hours. Like, hey, man, are you even awake right now? Like, and so realizing that. And I think through these conversations, people are also starting to realize that, like, yeah, we want you to be, come in here for an hour and try your best. But if you're not doing anything with the other 23 hours, then you're not going to go anywhere. And we can help you all you want, but if you're not helping yourself out here and making, choices with your sleep and nutrition, then like this is actually not going to do anything for you. And this can actually negatively affect you. If the stressors in your outside life are, greater than the workout stressors that you have in here.
Yeah.
So
I 175% agree.
Yeah.
Well, Marcela, it's been great. I always enjoy our conversations. I think you're just an awesome person. So where can everybody find you so that they can connect with you? Obviously, if they're here in Dallas, CrossFit Dallas Central, but where are you at on the social media world?
I am on Instagram at Marcela Arias, my name. Yeah, super simple. That's all I'm at. I'm really bad with any social media, but you'll probably get a good video of me dancing every now and then, which makes the follow worth it.
Yes. If y'all look on, I think it was CFDC's Instagram, like her little dance videos. Really, everything that they put up of her is typically pretty fun.
Yeah, just who I am.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Marcela, thank you so much for taking the time today. And I'll have to get out to CFDC soon to see y'all.
For sure. It's a party.
We hear it.